There is a kind of truth about mature men that most people miss completely, and it is not loud, it is not dramatic, and it is definitely not what you usually hear in conversations about love. A mature man is not chasing excitement the way he once did. He is not impressed by surface-level charm or temporary attention anymore. What he is secretly drawn to is something far more subtle, something deeper, something that changes the way he feels when he is simply around you. He doesn't always know how to say it, but he feels it instantly when it is there, and he feels the absence of it just as strongly when it is not. It is not about physical attraction first, it is about emotional comfort that comes before everything else. The way someone speaks to him when he is quiet, the way he is treated when he is not trying to impress, the way his presence is received without pressure or expectation, all of this matters more than most people realize. Because at this stage in his life, he is no longer looking for chaos or confusion. He is looking for peace that feels like home. And the surprising part is, the thing he secretly wants touched first is not what most people assume at all. It is not his ego, not his pride, not even his attention. It is something much softer, much deeper, and far more human than that. For a mature man, emotional safety is not just a nice feeling, it is the foundation of everything he allows himself to experience in a relationship. When life has already tested him through responsibilities, disappointments, and unspoken battles, he becomes more careful with where he places his heart. He no longer rushes into connection based on attraction alone, because he has learned that attraction without safety eventually creates distance, not closeness. What he truly looks for, even if he never says it directly, is a space where he can simply be without fear of being misunderstood, judged, or emotionally pushed beyond his comfort. Emotional safety for him starts in the smallest moments. It is in how he is responded to when he shares something personal. It is in whether his silence is respected or questioned. It is in whether he feels like he has to constantly explain himself just to be accepted. Many mature men carry a quiet habit of holding things inside, not because they don't feel deeply, but because they have learned that not every feeling will be handled with care. So when they meet someone who listens without interrupting, who doesn't rush to fix everything, who simply allows them to exist as they are in that moment, something shifts inside them. They start to lower their guard without even realizing it. This kind of safety is not built through big gestures. It is built through emotional consistency, a calm response instead of an emotional reaction, a patient silence instead of pressure for answers, a steady presence instead of unpredictable energy. These things may seem small, but for a mature man, they are powerful signals that he is not in a space where he has to defend himself. And once he feels that, he stops operating from protection mode and starts showing up more authentically. What makes this even more important is that emotional safety directly affects how deeply he can connect. Without it, even attraction feels distant. With it, even simple moments start to feel meaningful. He begins to open up slowly, not because he is forced, but because he feels safe enough to do so. And when a man reaches that level of comfort, he doesn't just participate in the relationship, he invests in it emotionally in a way that is steady, calm, and real. A mature man reaches a point in life where being needed is no longer enough to make him feel fulfilled. In the early stages of life or relationships, being needed can feel powerful. It gives a sense of purpose, a reason to show up, a feeling that someone depends on him. But over time, that feeling starts to shift. Responsibility becomes routine, expectations become normal, and what remains unspoken is the desire to be seen for who he truly is, not just for what he can do for others. When a man is only needed, he starts to feel like his value is tied to performance. He becomes the problem solver, the provider, the strong one, the one who always has to figure things out. While he may carry this role well, inside he slowly begins to wonder if anyone notices him beyond what he offers. Does anyone appreciate his effort when no one is asking for it? Does anyone see the emotional weight he carries quietly? Does anyone value his presence even when he is not fixing anything or giving anything? Appreciation is different. It is not about dependence. It is about recognition. It is about being acknowledged without having to earn it repeatedly. When a mature man feels appreciated, even in small ways, it touches something deeper than words can explain. A simple, "I see what you do," or "I value you," even when you are not doing anything, can shift his entire emotional state. Because in that moment, he is no longer just a role in someone's life. He is a person who is seen. The difference is subtle but powerful. Being needed can sometimes feel like pressure. It can create the sense that if he stops doing, he loses value. But being appreciated gives him space. It tells him that his worth is not conditional, that he is valued not just for his usefulness, but for his presence, his character, his calmness, and even his imperfections. This is why mature men often respond so deeply to genuine acknowledgement. Not exaggerated praise, not constant validation, but honest appreciation. The kind that feels natural, not forced. The kind that notices effort without turning it into expectation. When he experiences that kind of energy, he doesn't feel drained. He feels motivated to give more, not out of obligation, but out of connection. Because at the end of the day, a mature man doesn't want to feel like a tool that is used when needed. He wants to feel like a human being who is valued even in stillness. And when he finds that, he doesn't just stay in the relationship, he becomes emotionally present in a way that is steady, loyal, and deeply grounded. Respect is one of the strongest emotional triggers for a mature man, and yet it is often misunderstood. It is not about agreement on everything, and it is not about being treated as someone above others. It is something much more grounded and human. For him, respect simply means being treated like his thoughts, choices, and boundaries matter without needing to fight for that recognition. As he grows older, he becomes less interested in proving himself and more interested in being in spaces where he does not have to constantly defend who he is. Control, on the other hand, feels completely different to him. Even when it is subtle, it creates pressure. It shows up when someone tries to shape his decisions, correct his feelings, or guide his behavior in ways that ignore his perspective. A mature man can sense this quickly, and instead of feeling connected, he starts to feel restricted. And when a man feels restricted emotionally, he naturally begins to pull back, not because he lacks care, but because he values his independence and mental space deeply. Respect is what keeps him open. It allows him to speak without feeling dismissed. It allows him to disagree without fear of tension escalating. It allows him to be himself without feeling like he is constantly being measured or adjusted. In simple terms, respect gives him room to exist fully, without pressure to become someone else. And that kind of space is rare, which is why it feels so powerful when he experiences it. One of the clearest signs that a man feels respected is his level of emotional presence. When he feels respected, he doesn't shut down or withdraw. He listens more. He communicates more clearly. He stays engaged even during difficult conversations because he doesn't feel like he is being attacked or controlled. Instead, he feels like he is being understood even when there is disagreement. Control-based dynamics do the opposite. They slowly create emotional distance. A man may still stay physically present, but mentally he starts disconnecting. Not because he wants to leave, but because he is protecting his inner peace. No mature man wants to feel like he has to fight to keep his identity intact in a relationship. What makes respect so powerful is that it builds trust without force. When a man feels respected, he naturally becomes more open, more giving, and more emotionally available. He doesn't feel the need to hide parts of himself or soften his opinions just to avoid conflict. Instead, he feels safe expressing himself honestly, and that honesty becomes the foundation of real connection. At its core, respect tells him one simple thing: you are allowed to be who you are here. And for a mature man, that message is more attractive than control, pressure, or expectation ever could be. Because where respect exists, resistance disappears, and where resistance disappears, real emotional closeness begins to grow naturally. As men mature, their idea of attraction slowly changes. It becomes less about excitement that drains them and more about energy that stabilizes them. A mature man has already lived through enough noise in life: pressure from work, emotional ups and downs, responsibilities that don't pause, and relationships that may have felt intense but exhausting. Because of that, what he starts valuing most is not intensity, but peace. not drama but calm, not emotional highs and lows, but steady emotional ground. Calm energy feels different to him the moment he experiences it. It is not loud, not demanding, not confusing. It does not pull him into emotional guessing games or force him to constantly interpret mood shifts. Instead, it feels like a quiet space where he can relax his mind. In that space, he doesn't feel like he has to be careful with every word or prepare for unexpected emotional reactions. He can simply exist without tension building around him. Chaos, even when it comes in the form of strong emotions or passionate energy, eventually becomes tiring for a mature man. It may feel exciting at first, but over time it starts to drain his focus and emotional balance. Constant misunderstandings, overreactions, or emotional unpredictability make him feel like he is always on alert. And no matter how much he cares, that kind of environment slowly pushes him inward. He begins to protect his peace by emotionally stepping back. Calm energy, on the other hand, does the opposite. It invites him in without pressure. It doesn't demand immediate answers or force emotional reactions. It allows space for thoughts to settle before responses are expected. This kind of energy makes communication feel easier, not heavier. Even difficult conversations feel more manageable when they happen in a calm, emotional atmosphere instead of a reactive one. What makes calmness so powerful is that it creates emotional safety without needing words. A mature man starts to associate that calm presence with trust. He feels that he doesn't have to guard himself or anticipate emotional storms. And when that feeling becomes consistent, his attachment naturally deepens. Not because he is being pulled emotionally, but because he is finally not being pushed away by chaos. In contrast, chaos may create short-term excitement, but it rarely creates long-term closeness. A man may feel drawn to it in the beginning, but over time, he starts seeking balance elsewhere. This is why many mature men quietly move toward people who bring stability into their emotional world. Calm energy tells him something simple but powerful. You are safe here. You don't need to be on edge. You don't need to prepare for conflict. And for a man who carries enough pressure outside of relationships already, that feeling becomes rare and deeply valuable. It is not the loudness that keeps him close, it is the peace he feels in someone's presence. And once he finds that calm, he doesn't just enjoy it, he protects it, because it becomes the space where he can finally breathe emotionally without effort. One of the most overlooked emotional needs of a mature man is the need to be understood even when he is not speaking. As life goes on, he learns that not every feeling can be explained in words, and not every thought is easy to translate into conversation. There are moments when he becomes quiet, not because he has nothing to say, but because what he feels is layered, complex, or simply too heavy to express in a neat way. And in those moments, what matters most to him is whether someone can still understand him without forcing him to explain everything. Silence, for a mature man, is not emptiness. It is often where he processes life. It is where he reflects, thinks, and resets his emotional space. But unfortunately, silence is often misunderstood. Many people interpret it as distance, disinterest, or emotional withdrawal. This is where emotional maturity in a partner becomes important. Because when someone responds to his silence with patience instead of pressure, something shifts inside him. He begins to feel safe in a way that words cannot fully describe. Being understood in silence means not rushing to fill every quiet moment with questions or assumptions. It means not demanding explanations when he is clearly processing something internally. It means allowing him to come back to conversation at his own pace without making him feel guilty for needing space. This kind of understanding tells him that his inner world is respected, even when it is not fully visible. A mature man often carries a lot mentally. He may be thinking about responsibilities, decisions, or emotional weight he doesn't always share openly. In those moments, he doesn't necessarily need advice or solutions. He needs presence. Someone who can sit beside him emotionally without forcing him to perform or explain his state. That quiet acceptance becomes a form of deep emotional connection for him. When a man experiences this kind of understanding, he starts to feel less alone in his silence. He realizes that he doesn't always have to translate himself to be accepted, and that realization is powerful because it removes pressure. Instead of feeling like he must constantly communicate to maintain closeness, he feels closeness even in stillness. This is where emotional trust deepens, because when silence is not punished or misunderstood, it becomes safe. And when silence becomes safe, connection becomes effortless. He begins to open up more naturally, not because he is pushed, but because he knows he will be understood even when he doesn't have the perfect words. At a deeper level, this kind of understanding tells him something very important. You don't have to be constantly expressive to be valued here. And for a mature man, that feeling is rare. It creates a bond that is not dependent on constant communication, but on emotional awareness. In the end, a man may forget many conversations, but he never forgets how someone made him feel in his quietest moments. And if he feels understood even in silence, he doesn't just stay close. He feels emotionally anchored in a way that words alone could never create. At the end of the day, understanding a mature man is not about guessing what he wants in loud moments, but noticing what he quietly responds to in everyday life. It is easy to focus on surface-level attraction, but real connection is built in the subtle things most people overlook. The way he feels when he is not performing, the way he is treated when he is silent, and the way his presence is valued without conditions. These are the things that stay with him far longer than words or temporary excitement. When a man feels emotionally safe, genuinely appreciated, and calmly understood, he doesn't need to be chased or convinced to stay. He naturally becomes more open, more present, and more emotionally invested without pressure. But here is something important to think about. Most people try to win attention, when what actually creates lasting connection is emotional awareness, not control, not intensity, not perfection, just understanding. And that understanding is what changes everything in a relationship. If this message made sense to you, take a moment and reflect on it, because sometimes the biggest shift in relationships doesn't come from doing more, but from understanding deeper. And when you start noticing these emotional layers, the way you connect with people changes completely. If you want more content like this, stay connected, because we go deeper into real relationship psychology, emotional dynamics, and the unspoken truths most people don't talk about. And maybe the next insight you hear will change the way you see love in a completely new way.